There's a question most men ask themselves at least once in their lives. Why do I feel motivated on Sunday night, but can't get out of bed on Monday morning? Why do I start strong, but quit by Wednesday? Why does everyone else seem to have this invisible force pushing them forward, while I'm constantly fighting just to show up? Here's what nobody tells you. You're asking the wrong question. The samurai never asked about motivation. They had something else entirely. Something the modern world has completely forgotten. Today, you'll discover why motivation is your enemy, and why the ancient warrior code of Bushido holds the answer you've been searching for. But before I tell you this story, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave a comment. What motivates you to wake up every morning and push yourself to be better? Or if you're struggling right now, tell me what's stopping you. I want to take this moment to thank all of you who are here following the channel, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. I am deeply grateful to each and every one of you. Your presence here means you're serious about transformation. That alone matters and keeps me burning the candle. Now, let's get back to the video. The story I'm about to tell you happened to a man named Daniel. Daniel grew up in a working-class neighborhood just outside Chicago. His father was a construction foreman. His mother worked 2 jobs to keep the family afloat. 3 kids in a 2-bedroom apartment. You know the struggle. Daniel was 14 when he saw his father come home one evening, sit at the kitchen table, and just stare at the wall. No words. No emotion. Just emptiness. His mother whispered to Daniel later that night, "Your father's body is breaking down. 25 years of hard labor. He's only 47, but his back is destroyed." That image burned itself into Daniel's mind. That night, lying in his shared bedroom listening to his brother's sleep, Daniel made himself a promise. A promise that would drive the next 15 years of his life. I will never break my body for survival. I will use my mind. I will be different. And for a while, that promise worked like magic. Daniel became obsessed. Obsessed with grades. Obsessed with getting into college. Obsessed with proving he wasn't going to end up like his father. He won a partial scholarship to a state university. Worked 2 part-time jobs to cover the rest. Slept 5 hours a night. Lived on coffee and cheap ramen. His roommates would ask, "Man, where do you get the motivation? I can barely drag myself to class." Daniel would smile. "I just remember where I came from. That's all the motivation I need." 4 years later, he graduated with honors. Degree in finance. Got hired at a mid-size investment firm in downtown Chicago. Starting salary, $62,000 a year. More money than his father had ever made in a single year. Daniel was 23 years old. He had won. The first year was incredible. Every morning, he woke up energized. He was the first one in the office. Last one to leave. He volunteered for every project. Every presentation. Every weekend assignment. His manager loved him. "Daniel, you've got that fire. That hunger. Keep this up and you'll make senior analyst in 2 years instead of 4. Motivation was his superpower. Until it wasn't. Year 2 started differently. The alarm went off at 5:30 a.m. Monday morning. Daniel opened his eyes and felt nothing. No excitement. No energy. No fire. Just the crushing weight of, "I have to do this again." He hit snooze. First time ever. Then he hit it again. He finally dragged himself out of bed at 6:15. Rushed through his morning. Skipped breakfast. Showed up to work flustered and late. "It's fine," he told himself. "Just a rough morning. Tomorrow will be better." But tomorrow wasn't better. And the day after that was worse. By Wednesday, Daniel was bargaining with himself. "If I just get through today, I can relax tonight. If I just finish this week, the weekend will recharge me. If I just make it to the next vacation, I'll get my motivation back." 6 months into year 2, Daniel had a terrifying realization. He had lost it. The fire. the hunger, the motivation that had carried him for 23 years. And without it, he was nothing. He started showing up late, leaving early. His manager noticed. "Daniel, is everything okay? You used to be my most reliable guy. What changed? What changed?" That's what Daniel couldn't figure out. Nothing had changed. He still had the same job, same apartment, same goals. The only thing that changed was he no longer felt like doing it. And if he didn't feel motivated, how was he supposed to perform? He started consuming motivational content. YouTube videos, podcasts, self-help books. 10 ways to stay motivated. How to find your why. The secret to unstoppable drive. He'd watch a video and feel pumped for about 4 hours. Then the feeling would fade. And he'd need another hit. Motivation had become a drug. And he was an addict constantly chasing the next high. He tried everything. Started a gym routine. Quit after 3 weeks. Began journaling. Lasted 9 days. Signed up for a side hustle course. Never finished Module 2. Told himself he'd wake up at 5 a.m. every day. Made it 4 days before sleeping through his alarm. Every failure made it worse. Because each time he quit, a voice in his head got louder. "You're weak. You have no discipline. Other people can do this. Why can't you?" One night, 2 years into his job, Daniel sat in his apartment at 11 p.m. He had just gotten home from work. Another wasted day. Another day of going through the motions. He pulled out his phone and typed into Google, "Why can't I stay motivated?" The results were useless. More of the same. Find your passion. Visualize your goals. Just do it. He was about to close the browser when he saw an unusual article title. "Why Samurai Warriors Never Needed Motivation." He clicked. The article was written by a martial arts historian. It opened with a line that stopped Daniel cold. "Motivation is a modern invention. And a weak one." For 700 years, the samurai of Japan faced death daily. They didn't wait to feel motivated. They had something infinitely more powerful. Bushido. The way of duty. Daniel read the entire article. Then he read it again. Then he read 4 more articles. Then he bought 2 books. By 3 a.m., something had shifted in his understanding. He had been chasing the wrong thing his entire life. Let me tell you what Daniel discovered that night. Because it's the same thing every man eventually learns if he wants to become unbreakable. Motivation is a feeling. And feelings are unreliable. You feel motivated on Sunday because you're rested. Your mind is clear. The week hasn't beaten you down yet. In that moment, starting a new workout routine or business or habit feels exciting. But Monday morning, you're tired. The bed is warm. Your body aches. The excitement is gone. And here's the brutal truth. If you only act when you feel motivated, you will fail. Every single time. This is why gyms are packed in January and empty by March. This is why people start 100 projects and finish none. This is why New Year's resolutions have a 92% failure rate. Not because people are weak, but because they're relying on the wrong fuel. The samurai understood something we've forgotten. They lived by a code called Bushido. Bushido. 3 characters in Japanese. Bu, military or warrior. Shi, person or man. Do, way or path. The way of the warrior. But it wasn't about fighting. It was about how to live. Bushido had 7 core virtues. Ji, righteousness and justice. Yu, courage. Jin, compassion. Rei, respect. Makoto, honesty. Meo, honor. Chugi, loyalty and duty. Notice what's missing from that list? Motivation. Passion. Feeling good about it. None of those mattered. What mattered was duty. A samurai woke at dawn every single day. Not because he felt like it, but because duty demanded it. He trained with the sword for hours. Not because he was motivated, but because his code required it. He served his Lord even when the task was boring, difficult, or dangerous. Not because it made him happy, but because loyalty was his identity. Here's the difference, and it's everything. Motivation asks, "Do I feel like doing this?" Discipline asks, "Is this what I'm supposed to do?" Motivation is a question. Discipline is an answer. The motivated person wakes up and checks their feelings. Do I feel energized today? Yes. Okay, I'll go to the gym. Do I feel creative today? No. I'll skip writing today. Their actions are controlled by their emotional state. They are a slave to their feelings. The disciplined person wakes up and checks their code. It's 5 a.m. My code says I train at 5 a.m. Therefore, I train. Feelings are irrelevant. The code decides. There's a famous story about Miyamoto Musashi, perhaps the greatest samurai who ever lived. Musashi fought over 60 duels in his lifetime. Never lost a single one. A student once asked him, "Master, how did you find the motivation to train every day for decades?" Musashi looked at him like he was speaking a foreign language. Motivation. I never considered whether I was motivated. I am a warrior. Warriors train. That is all. Modern psychology has caught up to what the samurai knew 700 years ago. Researchers at the University of Pennsylvania studied high performers across multiple fields: athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, military personnel. They found something fascinating. The most successful people weren't the ones with the strongest motivation. They were the ones with the strongest systems. The ones who built identity-based discipline. In other words, they didn't do things because they felt like it. They did things because, "That's who I am." I'm a writer doesn't mean I write when I feel inspired. It means I write every day at 6 a.m. because writers write. I'm an athlete doesn't mean I train when I'm motivated. It means I train 6 days a week because athletes train. I'm a man of my word doesn't mean I keep promises when it's convenient. It means I keep promises regardless of cost because my word is my bond. This is identity-based discipline. This is Bushido for the modern world. When Daniel discovered this that night, everything clicked. He had been waiting to feel motivated. Waiting for that spark, that fire. But motivation never lasts. Because it's based on emotion. And emotions are temporary. What he needed wasn't a feeling. What he needed was a code. A set of rules that he followed regardless of how he felt. Not because it made him happy, but because it made him unbreakable. That night, Daniel pulled out a notebook. And he wrote his first code. Not complicated, not elaborate, just 5 simple rules. 1. I wake at 5:30 a.m. every day. No exceptions. 2. I work out for 30 minutes before showering. Every day. No exceptions. 3. I do my most important work task first thing when I get to the office. Every day. No exceptions. 4. I read for 20 minutes before bed. Every day. No exceptions. 5. I am in bed by 10:30 p.m. Every day. No exceptions. 5 rules. Simple. Clear. Non-negotiable. Not, I'll try to wake up early when I feel rested. But, I wake at 5:30 a.m. That's who I am now. The next morning, his alarm went off at 5:30. Daniel opened his eyes. Every part of him wanted to hit snooze. He felt tired, unmotivated. His bed was comfortable. In the past, he would have listened to those feelings. But now, he had a code. The code didn't care how he felt. The code said, 5:30 a.m. So he got up. That first week was brutal. Not because the tasks were hard. Waking up, working out, reading, none of that is complicated. It was brutal because Daniel's brain kept screaming at him. You're tired. You deserve rest. One day off won't hurt. You're not feeling it today. Skip the workout. Every single morning, the voice was there. Loud. Persistent. Convincing. Day 3 was the hardest. He woke up at 5:30. Got dressed for his workout. Stood in his living room with his running shoes on. And every fiber of his being said, "Don't do this." He stood there for 3 full minutes, having a war inside his own head. Motivation. You're exhausted. You need rest. This is punishment, not progress. Discipline. The code says you work out. So work out. Motivation. But why? What's the point? You don't even feel good. Discipline. Because this is who you are now. He did the workout. It was terrible. Slow and weak. He had no energy. But he finished it. And when he showered afterward, something unexpected happened. He felt proud. Not because the workout was great, but because he had kept his word to himself when everything inside him wanted to break it. Week 2 was slightly easier. Not because his feelings changed, but because the pattern was forming. His brain started to understand. 5:30 a.m. means we get up. That's just what happens now. By week 3, something shifted. The voice of motivation started getting quieter. It was still there. Maybe skip today? But discipline had a voice now too. And it was louder. We don't skip. That's not who we are. His performance at work started improving. Not because he suddenly felt passionate about investment analysis, but because he showed up earlier, focused, and did his most important task first. Every single day. No negotiation. No, I'll do it later when I feel like it. Just, this is the task. I do it. Done. His manager noticed. Daniel, I don't know what changed, but you're back. Actually, you're better than before. What happened? Daniel thought about how to answer. Then he said, I stopped waiting to feel ready. I just started being ready. By week 6, something remarkable happened. The code was no longer a battle. It was just what he did. 5:30 a.m. alarm. Body automatically started moving. Workout. Shoes on, door open, already halfway through before his brain could complain. Most important task at work. Done by 9:30 a.m. without even thinking about it. Motivation had nothing to do with it anymore. This was discipline. And discipline was freedom. 3 months in, Daniel met up with an old college friend for coffee. His friend looked exhausted, complained about work, about how he kept starting and quitting things, about how he just couldn't find the motivation anymore. Daniel listened, because he remembered being exactly there. Then his friend asked, How do you do it, man? You've always been so motivated. What's your secret? Daniel smiled. I'm not motivated. I haven't been motivated in months. I just have a code I follow. His friend looked confused. A code? Yeah. 5 simple rules. I follow them every day regardless of how I feel. That's it. His friend laughed. That's it? Just force yourself. Daniel shook his head. It's not forcing. That's the thing. In the beginning, yes. It felt like forcing. But after a few weeks, it stopped being about force. It became about identity. See, when you rely on motivation, you're asking yourself every day, do I feel like doing this? And most days, the answer is no. But when you build a code, you're not asking a question. You're stating a fact. This is what I do. This is who I am. And when it becomes your identity, you stop fighting it. His friend was quiet for a moment. Then, so you never feel unmotivated anymore? Oh, I feel unmotivated all the time, Daniel laughed. I just don't let that feeling make my decisions. The code makes my decisions. I just follow it. 6 months into living by his code, Daniel's life looked completely different. Not because everything was perfect. Not because he was suddenly passionate about everything he did, but because he had become reliable, consistent, unshakable. His manager promoted him, not because he was the most talented, but because he was the most dependable. His body transformed, not because he loved working out, but because he worked out every single day whether he loved it or not. His mind sharpened, not because reading was always fun, but because he read every night for 20 minutes without fail. Most importantly, when he looked in the mirror, he respected himself again, because for the first time in years, he was keeping his word to himself. That's what discipline does. It rebuilds self-respect, one kept promise at a time. There's a reason the samurai code was built on duty, not desire. Because desire is weak. Desire changes with the weather. Desire abandons you the moment things get hard. But duty stands in the storm. Duty says, I don't care if you're tired. I don't care if it's raining. I don't care if you don't feel like it. We do what must be done. That's not cruelty. That's love. Love for the man you're becoming. Love for the future version of yourself who will thank you for not quitting. 1 year into his code, Daniel had a moment of clarity. He was sitting at his desk at 7 a.m. First one in the office like always. Working on his most important task like always. And he realized he wasn't thinking about motivation anymore. He wasn't wondering if he felt like being there. He was just there, doing the work. Because that's what he did. The battle was over. Not because he won through force, but because he built an identity that didn't require force. He had forged himself into something unbreakable. This is what Bushido understood 700 years ago. You don't build strength by doing what feels good. You build strength by doing what must be done. You don't forge steel by leaving it alone. You forge steel by subjecting it to intense heat, hammering it repeatedly, cooling it, and repeating the process until all weakness is removed. The samurai forged themselves the same way. Not through comfort. Not through motivation. Through discipline. Through code. Through becoming the kind of person who does what needs to be done, regardless of how they feel about it. So let me ask you a question. How long have you been waiting to feel motivated? How many Monday mornings have you told yourself, this week will be different? This week I'll be motivated? How many goals have you set when you felt inspired, only to abandon them when the inspiration faded? Here's what I want you to understand. You're not broken. You're not weak. You're not lazy. You're just playing the wrong game. You've been told your entire life that motivation is the key. That if you just find your passion, your purpose, your why, then everything will be easy. That's a lie. Nothing worth building is easy. And nothing that requires discipline will ever feel consistently motivating. You have two choices. Path 1. Keep chasing motivation. Keep consuming content that gives you temporary highs. Keep waiting for the perfect moment when you finally feel ready. That path leads to a life of starting and quitting, of potential never realized, of looking back at 50 and wondering why you never became who you could have been. Path 2. Build a code. Define who you are. Then become that person through action, regardless of how you feel. That path is harder, especially at first, but it leads to something motivation can never give you: unshakable self-respect. The knowledge that you keep your word to yourself. The identity of someone who cannot be broken. Here's how you start. Tonight, before you sleep, write down 5 simple rules. Not goals. Not wishes. Rules. Non-negotiable standards for how you live. Make them specific. Make them daily. Make them challenging but achievable. Examples. I wake at, pick a time to begin with, every day. No exceptions. I choose a specific action, before, then set a trigger, every day. No exceptions. I am in bed by, write down your bedtime, every day. No exceptions. 5 rules. That's your code. That's your Bushido. Tomorrow morning, when your alarm goes off, Every part of you will want to quit. Your body will be tired. Your mind will give you 1,000 reasons to start tomorrow instead. That moment, that exact moment, is where you forge yourself. Not by how you feel, but by what you do despite how you feel. You get up. You follow your code. You keep your word to yourself. And you do it again the next day. And the next. Not because it feels good, but because that's who you are now. The first week will be a battle. The second week will still be hard. By week 3, you'll notice something shifting. By week 6, the code will start to feel natural. By week 12, you'll look in the mirror and see someone different. Someone reliable. Someone disciplined. Someone unbreakable. Not because you were always that person, but because you forged yourself into that person. One day at a time. One kept promise at a time. This is the truth the samurai knew. Motivation is a luxury. Discipline is a necessity. Motivation is for beginners. Discipline is for masters. Motivation starts the fire. Discipline keeps it burning for decades. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel motivated. You need a code. And you need to follow it. That's how you become unbreakable. Daniel's life didn't become perfect. He still has hard days. Days where he doesn't feel like doing anything. But he's no longer controlled by those feelings. Because he built something stronger than motivation. He built an identity. And identities don't negotiate. So tonight, I want you to ask yourself, what's your code? Not what you wish you did. Not what you'll do when you feel ready. But what you will do. Every single day. Starting tomorrow. Write it down. 5 rules. Your Bushido. Then tomorrow morning, when everything inside you wants to quit, remember, discipline defeats motivation. Always has. Always will. If this video gave you the truth you needed to hear, let me know in the comments. What's the one rule you're committing to starting tomorrow? And remember, you don't build discipline by feeling motivated. You build discipline by moving forward when motivation is dead. That's how steel is forged. That's how you are forged. Until the next video, hold your code.